Ladies and gentlemen, I promise you the delay tonight will be worth it and some because our guest, as I'm looking at him right now on the screen, looks a little different. He's got a little bit of a mustache. I'm not quite sure if it's a haircut. I'm not quite sure if it's maybe he's trying to imitate the Blaze Ace Christian. I'll get to him for sure in a little while. Maybe he's trying to imitate Robert Pearson, but have no fear, ladies and gentlemen. Your host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportswire Radio, isn't cutting his mutton chops or his hair anytime soon. The next time he'll do that is when he's in the grave. But it's not about me, ladies and gentlemen. Our guest tonight, the Bitcoin billionaire, Chase Wakefield, who certainly made some money in crypto lately because I've been following crypto. Crypto is definitely up, but alas, I'm not here to talk about crypto. I'm here to talk about what he's up to in all things related to VTW, DBW, Amplified Wrestling, and maybe even an announcement that he has here very shortly that could very well change the face, I would imagine, of the wrestling world. And he'll tell us more and all whatever else is on his mind and some. And ladies and gentlemen, it has certainly been a delay, but I promise you tonight is going to be worth it because all wrestling matters here. And after all, Chase Wakefield is a Hall of Famer. And I should remind everybody, he is Aaron Jones' best friend. And well, I'm actually wearing the shirt of a man he just most recently wrestled. But ladies and gentlemen, it is time to give our guest that introduction that he deserves. He wants to hear. I want to give it to him because I ran all the way home to make sure I got here just about on time to do it. And so many of his peers are wondering, well, what does Chase Wakefield have to say tonight? So let's get right to it and give him that introduction here that he deserves on a Tuesday night on Sportswire Radio, where, as I stated, all wrestling matters. So with that, without further ado, here on the Sports Report, number one, global sports show. He's Aaron Jones' best friend. You've seen him in Versus the World Wrestling, DBW, Amplified Wrestling. Simply put, his name is the Bitcoin billionaire, Chase Wakefield. My friend, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Tom?
I'm certainly doing as good as I could be, and I'm almost here miraculously just about on time, so I can't complain. But you would not have known what my day was like today because that's how I do it on Sportswire Radio. But Chase Wakefield, it is an absolute honor. I don't know where to start, but first of all, where I will start for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters, you look different. And what actually happened, first of all?
I had to get it done. I had to get the haircut of. I haven't had a haircut in 6+ years, I believe,
Oh,
and I just felt like it was time to get it done because summer's coming in, and having long hair in the summer, you should know, Tom, is very dreadful sometimes, especially whenever we're in humidity. It's a lot sometimes. So I just figure go brand new, get a brand new look, and figure surprise you with the haircut.
oh, I don't think you did it for me. I'm sure there you had your reasons, and certainly you're entitled to do anything you want. But yeah, I have had these mutton chops for just about 6 years, and I don't plan to get a haircut anytime soon or to shave my mutton chops. But it's not about me. But obviously, if you're happy and it certainly floats your boat, I'm going to certainly say, let's see what the future brings. Now, I'll get to that announcement in a little while, but I want to talk about something I saw a couple of weeks ago from, well, a man that I'm wearing a shirt of right now at the moment, a man, Jack Delta. Jack Delta, a very interesting man, a man that is kind of the most interesting man in the world of backyard, underground, and semi-pro wrestling, a man that has traveled, I would say, probably more than anybody that I could think of over the past couple of years. Maybe Aaron Blaze is right up there, Jackson Law, once upon a time. I mean, there's an up-and-comer, D'Angelo LaFlame, who's certainly putting Jack Delta, giving him a run for his money. But certainly Jack Delta is the man that always comes up on this platform. And we even spoke about him in a man that I'm going to talk about also in a little while that you know a lot about, the Blaze Ace Christian, who's wrestling your best friend for that VTW championship. But I have to ask you, I mean, it happened. You were a part of it. Jack Delta is in VTW as we speak. And for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters, Chase Wakefield, you certainly had your own wake-up call when it came to the destructive Jack Delta.
Man, when I first met Jack in North Carolina, the first thing I noticed was how tall he is. This man, the camera doesn't do justice. He is a very tall man.
Well, we just
And
had last night from XCW, we had Rob Slater, the Essential One, who my joke is always, he's as tall as a glass of water. But Jack Delta, who's also been in XCW, what a small world, I would say might even be taller than the Essential One, Rob Slater, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, I think he's almost the same height as Mr. Judgment is, and that's something to be told. And meeting Jack Delta was something that I've been wanting to do for years
Yes,
now.
we spoke about it here. No, listen, a lot of guys in VTW we've had on, and that was kind of the name that everybody put kind of a target on, and and he came, and you certainly got a wake up call from him.
Yeah, and that definitely was more or less a dream match in the making for me, because back when the COVID era was happening, it was strong. I remember talking about this on one of the episodes of Sportswire. I was talking about
Yes,
my backyard barbecue show.
yes,
That
I think it was
was,
the first time you came
I
on here
think
in the,
so, yeah.
in the summer. Yep.
And he was one of the first talents I reached out to when it came to getting new faces into our East Coast region, because a lot of people, backyard wrestling and underground wrestling always had like this territorial bubble. It seems like you always had like the Pacific, you always had the East
Yeah.
Coast,
Oh, I hear it
and
all the time on this platform. This guy
we,
only works with that company,
yep,
and that guy only works with that company, and I've
it
heard all
was
the lingo. Yep.
it was more or less more present back then than it is now as
I
well.
agree with you
And
on that, absolutely.
my
And
goal,
to be fair, it's very prevalent in the British wrestling scene. Trust me on that. So
and my goal was to really bridge the two communities together and get someone like Jack Delta to come. When we had people like Matt DeMorris coming, we had guys from BTW, DBW, NUW, everywhere, all culminating to one show. And I've always talked to Delta since, and we've always talked about having that dream match. And it looks like the stars aligned, and it became reality. It wasn't no longer a dream.
So, well, obviously, I'm going to do something a little special in a couple of minutes here toward that, because I have a little magic button, which yours truly has now learned how to master before I get to comment. So, let's say, go backwards 3.5 years to where you are today or a few weeks ago in that match. I mean, what was that? What would you have said to the 2020 Chase Wakefield?
I would have said keep on waiting, because dreams do eventually do come true. If you keep pushing and if you keep manifesting, uh, what you want and what your goals are, and eventually it'll happen. I mean, I was very grateful to wrestle Jack Delta, and hopefully one day we can meet up again and share that memory, I would say.
Maybe try to even the odds a little bit, you think?
Maybe.
Yeah, you think that would be maybe something that you'd like to see. And obviously, for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, I'm actually going to do something special. But first of all, let me get to comments and get to some of your social medias. You probably know this man. He's the big man of DBW, a frequent participant here on Sportswire Radio, Mr. Big Tex. He says, just hello, Wakefield, though, but your first name's Chase, right?
Yes, it's
Okay.
Chase, but
Still Chase.
some people call me Wakefield. It
Oh, they
really
do.
depends.
Okay.
It really
Okay.
depends.
Okay, fair enough. Want to make sure that we make that clear. Also, want to say hello to Mr. Jackson Saber. Jackson Saber, who just shared a locker room not too long ago. Speaking of people, no. I got to get this out of my chest. He actually not too long ago shared a locker room with a man that I literally just had on 8 days ago in your chair. Only the GTS IC and US champion, Mr. Rad Dad Radley Belmont. So Mr. Saber just shared a locker room with Mr. Rad Dad not too long ago. And you also had a few
I'm
things to say about Mr.
I'm
Rad
very
Dad.
jealous. I am very jealous. He is definitely one of the people I grew up watching, and when it came
Yeah,
to like backyard wrestling.
I had on, I will say exactly who on my stream yesterday said it, but they actually asked me to reach out to Mr. Rad Dad and wanted a match with him. So I reached out to Mr. Rad Dad because obviously he's a fan of the show. And obviously, we have certainly Mr. Controversy, Jimmy Controversy, is a mutual friend. And he said, well, that person will have to go to Grimm to get their opportunity and wish. And that basically says he's kind of busy. So we love that person that asked, and I asked for them. But different conversation for a different time. Now, you got to ask every DBW guest what they think of Chase Wakefield's haircut. That's an interesting point because, your haircut looks so much different than Robert Pearson. Robert Pearson, I guess you could say at least maybe still has the facial look, but I don't know here. I mean, I've heard through the grapevine that somebody compared you to Toby Maguire. I mean, have you heard
Yeah,
that?
I've gone that a few times whenever when I kind of showed off my haircut. I've gone some Tobey Maguire comparisons. Um, but I remember saying when we first talked about Robert Pearson's haircut that I said he looks like he now has a 750 credit score. Well, for me, I look like I just went into the Fountain of Youth.
Oh, so yours obviously would be near 900, obviously. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
is there even a 900?
I don't know because actually my credit score is almost at 900. I have to say,
Oh,
people are gonna think, "Oh
oof.
boy, Tom, you really are a cocky sob," which you already are. But yeah, I would say honestly, my credit score is probably just about 900, which is probably yeah. But that's not about me, not about you. But let's go to Mr. Saber, and I will be bringing up your haircut coming up here real soon because I will have some more DBW talk very soon here. But now you got to give everyone in DBW. He said the same thing. Okay, I got you. I got you. He said the same question, so we got the point. But I wanted to do something a little different as people are starting to tune into here. I actually wanted to show you something that
Okay.
kind of shows the match that you had with Mr. Delta. So there you go. How about this?
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
How
there you
about
go.
that?
Yep, we have a share the screen button, and I thought, what a way to be able to actually show you and Mr. Delta out there and wrestling. And you obviously that was a big topic of the show, and I just wanted to say how much I missed the hair, and obviously I'm only kidding, but Jackson also said that he messed up the first comment. But there you go. Here, I mean, I don't know if maybe this was the right approach to being in a match with Mr. Delta. Maybe the Funko Pop. I mean, we saw a little bit there of Mr. Delta, Mr. Jones before you came out to the match here at Wake Up Call. But there you are, and you know. What are your memories here? As we're spending a few minutes on this here, I figured, why the heck not? Because we are
Oh,
doing a
yeah.
share the screen, and I do commentary, by the way.
I think at this moment when I heard Jack Delta's theme hit, it became surreal to me that this match was actually happening.
I hear that song, and it gives you that blood rush, and we're actually getting it right now because look at this.
Oh, audio too. Okay, okay.
It just kicks a little different in a VTW ring versus
Yeah.
let's say AEW.
Jack Delta Boss, making his VTW debut, his North Carolina debut. Here he is. This man has been all over the United States. Probably one of the most traveled, if not the most traveled guy in our community.
Absolutely. Very recognized.
Absolutely, no question about that. Jack Delta is one of the more well-traveled people in this sport, and I'll certainly get to some more comments as I see people now are all of a sudden tuning in. But yeah, there you go. I mean, certainly we see you in that Aaron Jones Funko Pop, but Mr. Delta, a well-traveled man, a man I have covered in many promotions, and certainly a fan favorite in this particular promotion. And this is certainly a dream match. And Mr. Delta has said it here on this platform that stay tuned. And VTW was a company that he has paid attention to for a long time. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys had the right timing there, but obviously Mr. Delta and you seem to be starstruck at each other. And there we go here. And Mr. Delta's clearly got the size advantage, but obviously we also see here Mr. Delta moving a little quick for somebody that as traveled as him. And he kind of stops and stares, and maybe he's starstruck in his own right here in the VTW crowd. And we see he's lifting you up like a sack of potatoes, more or less here, and almost kind of a almost a mini power slam there. And we see you early count in the match. And obviously, Chase Wakefield, I'm kind of just doing it randomly off the top of my head. A little bit of commentary here because it is Jack Delta. It is Chase Wakefield. It is a match a lot of people, I think, would like to see. And if you want to see the match, you can also hit that sub button for VTW versus the World Wrestling. And they've got a huge show coming up here. As a matter of fact, I would imagine this weekend. And also make sure you hit that sub button there for us because also Mr. Delta is actually, so you know, while we're watching this, Mr. Delta was once the world champion of a company that I actually co-own with Mr. Omen Black and Soldier GP called the Pride Wrestling Federation. You probably heard of it. It used to be Atomic Titans promotion once upon a time, and it changed hands to a few different people. And Mr. Delta is actually the man that was the champion for our company that we own a portion of. But here we see Mr. Delta working the size advantage here. And, you look like you're kind of starstruck right now. I see the way you turned at him. And Mr. Delta is certainly giving you his size and strength advantages. And we've seen him up against some really big guys size-wise, most recently in XCW, like Eric Mason, who's the international champion there. And Eric Mason is one of the most up-and-coming talents. And Mr. Delta certainly saw him and certainly has a victory over him. But Chase Wakefield, you might want to run for cover, but maybe you use some of your own tactics there, kind of your own veteran tactics in the game. And now you've got Mr. Delta in a way kind of where you want him. A nice little senton bomb there. And you got to get him for that cover, which we did here, but kind of a nonchalant cover there, Chase Wakefield. Certainly a non-Bitcoin billionaire-like cover here. And obviously, Mr. Wakefield, you are looking at Mr. Delta, and I don't know if maybe you watched some of the tapes that CJ Black, the good guy, had. He had a couple of big victories recently over Mr. Delta. Maybe that was the tape you should have watched here to start the match because came out differently than you did here so far. But right now, you're working your way on to Delta. And is there a strategy right now? Now you've got yourself kind of your legs back in here, and you're starting to hold your own here, Mr. Delta. Any strategy here at this moment?
I had to just take out his head. Like he has a big bulbous head, and if I weaken it, he can get concussed, dizzied. Oof.
And then you kind of got caught upside down in your own right, and I would not want to be in this position. You are in no man's land right now, especially with Jack Delta's size and strength. And it looks like here Mr. Delta is about to do something to you. And yes, you might want to pick the shirt up. I don't know if that was time there or not, but yes, you might want to move away here. And Mr. Delta's his big boots. Yeah, his big boots are certainly those that you definitely want to move away from. But Mr. Delta is very confident here, and he's got kind of see that big boot, and you're definitely down for the count. And you might have had a wake-up call there. Reminds me of the old System of a Down song there, Chop Suey. You definitely were Chop Suey there. But yeah, definitely, I remember that song very well. But now you are trying to do something to Mr. Delta, and I don't know if that was the right strategy, but Mr. Delta is about to do something to you, and boy, I haven't even seen that move in ROEW and XCW, and he is about to almost get you there, I'd say about 2.5 there, and I want to say hello to a few people out there. Mr. ADT, our buddy, who of course is in also our Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, and he's actually been wanting his match with Mr. Delta, but you got it, and I guess we'll see how you do, and I'm sure that Mr. ADT is scouting you out also. So is Omen Black. We've got a question for you after this match. And boy, it looks like he's got something up in a fireman's carry. And you at least got out of that one here, Chase Wakefield. And I don't know if that's the move. I don't know what you're trying for. A good breaker here, but you're trying for a count. You got him. You got the count. 1, 2, and I would say about a 2.25 there. 2.25. And Mr. Delta uses his size, and you are definitely looked like you were about to be squashed, kind of like when grapes fall to the floor after you pack them in a store, which yours truly used to do once upon a time there. But Mr. Delta seems like he is starting to feel confident in this match. I am certainly sure it's not those American ring pants that he's wearing, it looks like, but Mr. Delta looks like he's got you right where you want him. And look at that clothesline, that Bradshaw-like clothesline there from Mr. Delta, and I think he's trying for the Delta driver, and it looks like you didn't get the Delta driver on. You actually reversed it, and you got a count there for him. 1, 2, and Mr. Delta using that ring experience, that veteran experience there to put his hand to the rope, and you almost felt like you had him there, right, Chase Wakefield?
I tried to give it all. My rug pull, it was a little caught on. I couldn't get all, but I got enough to get that pin. But obviously the ropes were
close, but no cigar there for those who are cigar smokers. And Mr. Delta just kind of throws you there. You get stuck on those ropes, and Mr. Delta looks like he's about to do something, and he's going to lift you up here, and could be a sign of things to come. I'm not sure, but Mr. Delta is about to do something that's going to make you feel some pain, and Mr. Delta actually felt some pain in his own right because he went down outside and looks like he's going to try to get a count, and he's got that count, looks like. And no, he's got a submission hold here, and this could be lights out here, and you are in kind of no man's land here in the middle of the ring, and Jack Delta is basically forcing you to submit, and you are, and that's it. There's it goes, ladies and gentlemen. No Delta driver here. Jack Delta, in his VTW debut, gets a huge victory over the Bitcoin billionaire Chase Wakefield, and he certainly comes in here and gives you a wake-up call, and he comes in here with a very destructive-like start to his VTW in-ring career, and you can see Jack Delta mouthing off to the crowd, and he certainly had more success here in this match than most recently what we saw in ROEW, but maybe it's a sign of things to come. Maybe it's momentum. Maybe it's a fresh start. But Jack Delta, a man that has proven himself in some of the most top companies in this sport and background and underground wrestling, whether it's in the backyard, semi-pro. We've seen him in so many places: PWF, TBW, XCW, ROEW. I mean, you can go up and down the list of companies. Jack Delta has seen it. He has done it all, and he is certainly here victorious, and we certainly want to congratulate Mr. Delta, but also for you, Mr. Wakefield, we're going to take this off the screen. But impressions, now you got a chance to watch this match here live on Sportswire Radio.
I will say at the end there, he did hit me with that Delta driver on the apron, and if you notice, I landed on my arm during that.
I did.
I think Delta saw that too. That's why he applied that submission at the end, and that's why he didn't need to do a Delta driver.
You weren't going to last long there. Yep, it was like, boom, okay. I don't even think you lasted more than 5 seconds there, and obviously that's, I'm sure, something that's still burning in your mind there.
It's definitely, I would say there was a lot of things I could have done better in that match.
Maybe talk to Aaron more a little bit. Wouldn't that help?
I could have strategized better. He's been everywhere, so I could have looked up and
you should have. I mean, I've had him on, and as a matter of fact, I actually had him on not too long ago, actually right before you came, but also I actually called one of his matches not too long ago on Sportswire Radio with a guy you probably heard of, James Taylor, the nemesis. Yeah. James Taylor. He wrestled Jack Delta, and as a matter of fact, James Taylor, the nemesis, yes, we can mention his name on Sportswire, spoke a lot about Jack Delta. So, I mean, if you're watching Sportswire, which I know you are, I mean, you would have certainly got even more of a scouting report. But listen, there's always could be a new day. There could always be another match in the cards. But certainly Mr. Delta has a strong start to his VTW in-ring career, and hopefully you'll get back on track because, Aaron has, got a lot of things on his mind, which, speaking of Aaron, I mean, he's got the Blaze Ace Christian. The Blaze Ace Christian is, a man that is setting his sights maybe rather soon. I mean, is it too soon for the Blaze Ace Christian, you think?
I definitely think it's too soon for the Blaze Ace Christian. If you've been hearing what the Blaze Ace Christian's been going through with Zach Daniels, I don't think anyone knows that he's ready to face the real boss man, Aaron Jones. I think he needs to find some mentor in VTW to help him guide his way up to the top, because he has that contract and he won it, and he cannot waste this opportunity. So he needs to do everything he can to secure a victory and be the new VTW world champ.
So this would be the poor-sided judgment to go to another promotion for another man that's named Judgment, another promotion. But so it's kind of too soon, you think, then, right?
I believe it is way too soon for the Blaze Ace Christian. I think Aaron Jones is going to teach him a lesson, and he's going to. I don't think the match is going to last long at all. I don't even think the Blaze Ace
So you're
Christian
going to
will put anything.
certainly have lasted much longer with your match with Jack Delta compared to Ace Christian and Aaron Jones, right?
Most definitely. I think the longest part of that match is going to be the entrance. That's what
so
I think.
you really don't think Ace Christian can even last inside the ring longer than his entrance? Is that what you're telling me on Sportswire Radio?
Not a chance. The Blaze Ace Christian has untapped potential, unlimited untapped potential.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I mean, he's the youngest Rumble winner, I think, in history of any wrestling company, as far as I know. I mean, unless somebody can fact check me.
At the end of the day, a Rumble match is all about luck. And he was lucky, and I don't think luck's going to be on his side come locked up.
So it's fair to say that Ace Christian is biting off far more than he can chew.
100%. I mean, as I said before, he has the potential, but potential does not equal to what he has right now in the ring. He needs to tap into that potential. He needs to lock in and be ready for anything.
Okay, and obviously I want to say congratulations to Mr. ADT because Mr. ADT is, I believe, the new AWL World Heavyweight Champion. So we'll certainly, I'm sure, talk about that in a couple of weeks with Mr. ADT. So I definitely want to say episode 28 is now on their YouTube channel. So please check them out at Alliance Wrestling League because after all, I have my ADT shirt. So I'll have to wear my ADT shirt when he comes on here. But let me ask you, though, conversely, one question. As I see now people are starting to tune in here, as people just saw you wrestle Jack Delta. So there you go. That's the way to drive up the, universe there. But is it any possibility, though, from your vantage point, that Mr. Jones could take, let's say, Mr. Ace Christian lightly?
I mean, there's always thoughts of that. Ace Christian is still a kid after all, and the mindset of Aaron Jones is he's done so much to other people.
Oh, he's been in the ring with the Barbarian. I mean, listen, he's been in the ring with the Barbarian. I mean, after that, it's almost like it's all gravy.
I mean, he's done so much. He's had to do so much to so many bigger opponents. When it comes to someone the size of Ace Christian, there's really no choice but to take him lightly.
I mean, people make fun of your weight and such, but Ace Christian, I mean, can he even drive? Is he even legally allowed to drive at this point?
That is a great question. I don't think he will have the drive to make it to BTW.
Literally, I don't think literally he could drive to BTW in North Carolina. I think it's a pretty actual valid point that you may make.
He has to rely on others, and he will probably have to rely on another person to even.
And he's definitely not relying on you. And he's definitely, by the way, not relying on Mr. Delta because there's no way Mr. Delta, he's coming from the other direction. So Mr. Delta can't be able to go out there and drive him there. So maybe Mr. Christian should maybe get parental guidance on this.
Maybe he should take his driving test and get that license.
Do you think he'll pass the driving test, or maybe he'll have some trouble there? Kind of like with a match with Aaron Jones, you think?
No, knowing Ace Christian, I think that might be the case. I think he have to rely on his dad transportation still.
Well, that's certainly, I would imagine, only difficult for him. But I want to say, Mr. Black says congratulations to our good buddy ADT. We love ADT on the platform, and you definitely know who this man is. He's certainly destined Victor Glow. And does he have a voice right now? Because I saw on Facebook the other day he was having trouble with his voice box. So we certainly won't make sure to bring him on to Sportswire.
I will say, Dustin Victor Glow, his journey as a ring announcer from what he has been at DBW to now has been incredible.
Oh my God, his journey is like. It's such a unique journey. I mean, the guy's been on stage. The guy's had millions of viewers on his YouTube channel. And, he was obviously doing voice impersonations, voice impressions.
And
I mean,
if you saw ACW, they just performed a show in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, show Matt Riddle was there. They performed in a stadium.
Yes, I saw that. It was funny that you said that because I looked up. They were in like a 6,000 seat venue or something like that. Right? The venue is like 6,000 seats. I mean, they didn't call you though.
I was busy that weekend.
But certainly, I would think a Bitcoin billionaire could help. Certainly make sure that the venue gets 6,000 more people, or maybe they could build 6,000 more seats with your presence.
ACW, there's a lot of people there that I absolutely love to work with.
Yes, I've heard a lot of good things about that company.
You
A
got
lot of
guys like you got Dan Stofko, for example.
Sugar Dan Stofko, yes, who's going to be back on the
Uh,
platform, yes.
amazing,
Baseball
amazing
player
guy.
turned wrestler, obviously going into your world from the baseball mound. Yeah, that's an
Yes.
interesting story there.
Yeah, guys like Mr. Amazing, Van
Yes.
Williams, phenomenal talent there.
And obviously that's Mr. Ellsworth stomping ground. That's his,
Yes.
his thing there, Mr.
And
Ellsworth.
and I am proud of each and every single one of them for being able to perform in a stadium like that. And
That's a
they all
really cool
deserve
thing.
it.
No, you know what? And to anybody to do that, we're here with the Bitcoin billionaire Chase Wakefield, who's going to have an announcement here in a few minutes and such. But he was talking about all things related to our very good friend over VTW versus the World Wrestling. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters. We're going to have a lot more coverage coming up tomorrow. As we're going to have Jake Matthews, the Born to Battle briefcase winner, also Riot in the Ring coming up on June the 1st. Maybe that's something people are interested in. I think some people on the platform that are here in the comments might know a thing or two about that. Also, we're going to have on, D Savage is going to be here before his match coming up with Power Surge. Power Surge is a local Pennsylvania guy. I think that probably some people in DBW and Amplified Wrestling definitely know who that guy is. He literally could probably lift up like half the locker room in either of those companies. But obviously, you're going to see more coverage for that tomorrow night. But we're here right now with the Bitcoin billionaire Chase Wakefield. By the way, speaking of things, before I get to a few things, let me say hello to Mr. James Taylor. Speaking of which, with his brand new photo, hello, gentlemen. And you certainly would be a good candidate for the Nemesis Sessions. And speaking of my guest yesterday, who now is the second two-time Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer, three-time Hall of Famer, Mr. Justin Parsley. That is Justin Parsley in the background. Read the marquees written on each the name Parsleys. Good evening, Tom. Thanks for allowing Chase to grace us with his presence. But we actually, I do want to say thank you, Chase Wakefield, because it is always good to have you. And when you reached out, you were like, "Can I come back on?" I'm like, "You're Chase Wakefield. You're a Bitcoin billionaire. I have to bring you back onto sports."
Oh yeah.
No.
I love being on the show.
I love having you here. I mean, I don't know where we let everybody come on the platform. Like we have James Taylor. I'm like, we let James Taylor. We'll put him on here 24/7. But Mr. Black did have a question. Omen Black, this is, and he actually, before I get to a few others, there's a lot to talk about with you. He says, "I got one question. Does Mr. Wakefield still want the match with yours truly?" Meaning Omen Black. It is, after all, his show, and we're actually business partners now, actually, because he and I own a portion of the PWF. So.
See, I've been watching a lot of the guys in the Midwest, IMF, or OEW, and I'm a big fan of them. And I know in the past a lot of those guys have said some things to people in the East Coast, and I'm not a part of any of that. I'm very impartial when it comes to things.
Me too.
I like to say I'm not a part of any company. I'm more or less just a part of myself. I go to wherever I want to go to. And when it comes to a match, anything is possible in professional wrestling. And
absolutely,
if the stars align, just like how me and Jack Delta stars align, it could happen.
I agree with that so much, and I want to say this out there. I don't think there's any person that does these things is as more fair as yours truly, because I literally could not agree more with what you just said, because I literally try to give everybody the same platform. And I'm so happy that you said that, because, I think that if we can have some of the best matches and the best talent out there from different places, well, let's have it happen. I don't know when and where, but, always never say never. Listen, Jack Delta, right? Jack Delta was in VTW. Listen, Jack Delta was back in XCW. I mean, a lot of people didn't think that Jack Delta was back in XCW. I mean, Anthony Steele and Fletch were on a stream together last week. Who would have thought that would have happened? I mean, you never know. You can never say never. So thank you very much for saying that. But also, if you want to follow Chase Wakefield, it's very simple and easy to do, because I have a couple of different links that I'm going to pull up. Also, his merchandise page here shortly I'm going to pull up here. But in the meantime, if you want to follow Instagram, Chase Wakefield _PW, it is Pro Wrestling Tees page. So make sure you follow Chase Wakefield and try to put a few more Bitcoins into his pocket by buying some merch. That was a funny one, though, right? That was a funny one here. But I do have some more comments. But
I did also lower the price on my t-shirt as well, so it's even more affordable for everyone.
Well, that's always good, especially in this economy with inflation up and people don't know when the rates are going to come down. But different conversation for a different time. I certainly did enough legal work today that I'm going to certainly move away from that. But the Bitcoin billionaire versus the boogeyman of the Midwest, money. Yeah, it could be money. I mean, I don't know what the outcome would it be in crypto or over US dollars? But I digress. But so VTW, you're confident overall that Aaron Jones is going to keep his championship, but then in VTW, what's the future for Chase Wakefield then?
We also have that penitentiary match I'm part of,
Yes.
the YouTube Championship. I would
That's
say.
why championship that you sort of were the
I mean, I was the
holder of.
greatest YouTube champion of VTW's history.
You were the holder of it, but weren't recognized as it. But go
I
on.
was the greatest YouTube champ, and I also broke a record in the Reunion Rumble.
You did.
I'm a record breaker, so I'm a record breaker, and I'm the greatest champion.
I mean, look, I don't know if I would want to bring up the time in the Rumble there, but
listen,
yes,
records are meant to be broken, and I am a trendsetter when it comes to professional wrestling. And why not just break a record?
I mean,
like
Eric
that?
Rowan lasted what 6 seconds with The Rock. I mean, you
Exactly. I
still
mean,
can say he was in there for 6 seconds.
nevertheless, that penitentiary match, we have myself, we have Chase Bridges, we have Blue Cyclone.
Yep, Blue Cyclone's. I think the wild card in that match. By the way, I think Blue Cyclone's the big wild card there.
He is known as the meanest wrestler in professional wrestling, and we also have ASAP.
Yep.
A man that I haven't really done my research on ASAP. I only just found about ASAP in VTW. And the talent he has is very, very special.
But
He
you're
is
an
a very
established
gifted.
guy. How does that make you feel that even you have to like find information? Because you give yourself credit for a second. You've wrestled a lot of people. You've been around a while. You're talking 6, 7, 8 years. You've been wrestling in some form. So what's that mean for you if you have to actually find information on somebody that you don't know as well?
I mean, at the end of the day, I like doing my research when it comes to things. I like watching new upcoming talent. Surprisingly, ASAP is not a new talent. He's been doing the independents for years, almost like a decade, I think so. And learning about his work has been something, but very joyous, I would say. And I think I'm gonna use the knowledge I have learned from ASAP, and I think I'm gonna utilize that and have the advantage on ASAP because I'm very unorthodox when it comes to VTW.
You're very unorthodox. Period. Any company that you're a part of.
No one knows what I'm going to do, and ASAP certainly won't know what I'm going to do. So it's only a matter of time, and I'm going to reclaim the YouTube champion and become a 2-time YouTube champion.
Will they count that in the record books, though?
No, it's 2-time.
Okay, I'm gonna just say we'll certainly find out, and you can watch it on the VTW YouTube page this coming weekend. Want to say hello to another one of our buddies there that you probably know a thing or two about. Ring a bell?
Kid Mike. Yep, Kid
Murder
Mike.
City Hit Squad. Yep, ring a bell.
Yep. A very, very loud bell, I would say.
Having his own issues with Lydia Myers there, and that one of the other promotions that you're, know far too well. But and also he said a few things about another promotion that you certainly grace their presence with quite a bit in DBW. We'll have to find out if the Murder City Hit Squad are a part of DBW coming up in the next few weeks, I would suppose. Stay tuned.
Yeah,
stay tuned.
I'd say so.
Tuned. But speaking of people that we actually talked about, and I actually did a little bit of commentary with the man that was actually one time the XCW New Age champion, the man that was once also the PWF World Champion, which again, I own a portion of that company with Mr. Omen Black and Mr. Soldier GP. I am talking about none other than the man I'm wearing a shirt of right now, the destructive Jack Delta. Good evening, my friends. Hope you're feeling better, Chase. Thank you for the Aaron Jones pop figure, Mr. Wakefield. Now, certainly he could have been maybe a little bit more, I guess, celebratory and said, "Pop goes the weasel," but thankfully he didn't. Thank you for the Aaron Jones pop figure, Mr. Wakefield, which kind of rhymed, but I'm glad he didn't.
I have no idea how that match became for the pop figure. I did not sign off on anything when it comes to that, and I would like my pop figure back, please and thank you.
Now, you obviously talked a lot about Mr. Delta's size in person. Now, what would be the strategy to actually try to reclaim that figure back from Mr. Delta? Because after all, we know he's a well-traveled man, and we know that he could probably be traveling to parts unknown to wrestle as we speak. So what's the plan?
The plan, I would say, is take him out by the legs. I think I need to do like the good old mafia
Maybe you
style
need to
fast
hire
money.
with some of the billions that you have in Bitcoin money. Maybe you need to hire some people, kind of like a hit job, kind of quote, like the Murder City Hit Squad, quote unquote. That sort of sound
Maybe
like
that
something
that
to
could
ring
be
a
a
bell for you?
possibility. Yeah,
Hmm.
that could be a possibility, I would say.
Hmm. Well, Mr. Delta, it's always good to see Mr. Delta. Anything else you want to say to Mr. Delta? But actually, you know what? Before you do that, Mr. Mike actually has a question for
Oh,
you. And I'm
okay.
going to also notice that he also says the term Wakefield. He doesn't call you Chase, but Wakefield. What are your thoughts on Aaron Jones being Ace Christian's best friend? See, now, haven't we talked a lot about you and Mr. Jones' best friendship? And, we talked a lot about, Mr. Christian not showing up and having longer entrance than actual in-ring time with Mr. Jones. And, how do you react to a rather clever question there for a fellow Hall of Famer here?
I I don't understand why he thinks that Ace Christian could be Aaron Jones' best friend because that doesn't make sense at all. Why would Aaron Jones want to be best friends with a kid? That's my question.
Take out the competition.
What? The only competition Ace Christian could take out is the trash.
Well, I certainly am not going to comment on those things because we're obviously a family station on Sportswire, and also that's certainly a comment that I'm going to leave to Mr. Christian his chores, to his family. But you never know. I mean, couldn't there be a mutual respect? Maybe Mr. Jones respects Mr. Christian's in-ring ability and what Mr. Christian has done in winning that Rumble a few months ago. I mean, doesn't that also stake as a possibility that he respects him? Whereas with you these past 3 or 4 months, I mean, you have certainly told us convincingly that, he's your best friend, but I did have Mr. Jones on here once upon a time. Now, again, I do have a legal background, so I can obviously, parcel things. And for whatever reason, my legal, background actually came up in yesterday's show on Sportswire. So I can kind of, parcel things. Now, again, I trust you. I trust your judgment. You're a Hall of Famer. And I certainly am going to take your word for it. But there are people that are watching this, or even people that are fans of VTW, that would say that Mr. Jones doesn't seem to really reciprocate the same way you seem to about your friendship with Mr. Jones. Just saying.
No, it's really difficult to earn Mr. Aaron Jones's respect, I would
I
say.
understand that 1,000%. The man's been in the ring with the Barbarian.
Yes, and the thing is, it's all about tough love when it comes to me and Aaron Jones. And Aaron Jones and Ace Christian doesn't have that chemistry that me and Aaron Jones have, you know. And like I said before, he will just see him as a kid. That I think the time when Aaron Jones will respect Ace Christian is when Aaron Jones laid down on the mat 1, 2, 3, and Ace Christian is the world champ. That's when the respect will come in, and that's when you could have any thought of friendship.
Have you spoke to Aaron Jones recently about this?
No, I have not. I don't think so. It's definitely
Well,
not a topic we have talked about if we have spoke in recent
even
time.
a couple of months ago, there was no talk about Ace Christian. Let's go with a couple of months ago.
He's more or less like a little gnat swarming some old
And we know
food.
that Mr. Christian's not here because it's way past his bedtime, right? Because
Yes, he has school.
to go to bed early, right? Because he's
He
one of
has
those,
school tomorrow.
he's a child, right? So as a
Yes.
child, right, they have to be in bed because their parents, we'll certainly go with that. Their parents set a bedtime for them, right? So
Yes.
obviously, this is way past Mr. Christian's bedtime, obviously,
And
right?
if you know who Ace Christian's father is, you definitely do not want to upset.
Yeah, I mean, I have an idea of who the father is. I think I've had the father on many times on the platform, and yeah, I've seen the father. I've watched him in the ring. I've had him on this platform, and
He's also might have wrestled the Barbarian too.
and he's also wrestled a lot of people, and he's also been trained by some, a really big guy in his own right, who's a really big deal in the Pennsylvania wrestling world. So yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with that father. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, that's definitely a father that I would certainly want to say if I crossed, I probably would be where I live across the street in the cemetery, which I'm sure some people would like to see me in there currently, but different conversation for a different time. I am only kidding, ladies and gentlemen, but I have another fun fact. Let me go with my buddy, Mr. ADT, because ADT's got his own new look, by the way, and he's looking great. He's also another Hall of Famer. And I want to put it out there, by the way, for you, Mr. Fletcher, Mr. Joshua Fletcher. You say there's 37,000 people in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to put 370,000 people in the Hall of Fame. And I don't need your permission to actually bring on XCW talent to come on the platform because I don't work for XCW. Spoiler alert. But Mr. ADT would like to say, Delta calling me a gloat. What kind of Twilight Zone stuff is going on? I blame the eclipse. But first of all, real quick, did anybody see the eclipse? Because I actually didn't listen to the people. It actually tried to see the eclipse without the sunglasses. I realized my 3D glasses that I had from Godzilla vs. Kong actually didn't work, and I had to like run inside. I was like halfway there. I'm like, these glasses don't work. I should have got the solar glasses. Did anybody actually see the eclipse?
Where I'm located, the eclipse was like kind of like a fingernail.
Oh wow! Okay.
It was pretty covered, and those glasses, they may look cheap, but they do their job right.
Yeah, I should have listened, and I was like, no, I got my 3D glasses I'm going to use, and it didn't work.
I learned that the welders masks, the glass on their tin is a level 13, and the glasses that you see at CVS is a level 15. So it's even darker than welders masks, and that's why you gotta wear them when you look at the sun, especially at this time.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. And I do want to point out that I thought congratulations to the new World Heavyweight Champion, Mr. ADT, of course, our AWL World Heavyweight Champion, but I want to make sure that I congratulate him again because their most recent episode is actually just out now on YouTube. And you should absolutely subscribe to the Alliance Wrestling League YouTube channel. So support them because, well, after all, they're a big part of the platform here on Sportswire Radio. But wasn't trying to breeze over. I felt like I mentioned it, but I definitely do want to say congratulations to the champion. And I want to say thank you for the shirt. And I look forward to wearing the shirt when the champion is back on you. But we knew the champion was going to get the title back. Let's be honest. I mean, we knew that was only going to be a matter of time. But we'll certainly say I'm looking forward to having ADT back on here and also please follow the Alliance Wrestling. But I got another question here, which I really wanted to bring up here. So, whose haircut is better? Here's the options. You got an A, B, C. It could be a D, maybe none of the above. But the Blaze Ace Christian, Robert Pearson, or Chase Wakefield, the Bitcoin billionaire. Ooh, who's got the better haircut there?
Well, Tom, I think this is more of a question for you. I think you need to answer.
So my answer would be probably Ace Christian. Robert Pearson's haircut's got to. Yours is middle of the pack. I'm going to give you middle of the pack.
Okay, I'll take that.
Because at least I'm kind of getting used to your haircut. Ace Christian's haircut wasn't. I got to be honest, it really wasn't that bad. I got to be honest. The Ace Christian haircut, I was like, you know what? You got a Beatles look. Robert Pearson's haircut, to me, I could be talking about Robert Pearson's haircut probably for the next 10 years, but I know Mr. Pearson's got it out for me. I've heard through the grapevine, so I'm sure that I'm going to certainly be on a receipt from that, quote unquote, probably real soon. But I'm cool with that because I know that I'm not the only person that's questioned the Robert Pearson haircut. But so to answer it, I'm going to go Ace Christian 1, you 2, Pearson 3. So I'm sure that Pearson's going to make me, pay for that. But also, my wife said The Grudge has a bedtime.
Yeah, I don't understand Kid Mike's wife's beef with me.
What is that? Do we know?
I don't know. She, for some reason, thinks I don't know if you've seen that the photo of like Momo, I think that's what it's called. She thinks I look like that, and it scares her. So I don't
it's a good time to bring up Amplified Wrestling because you were actually wrestling there, and you had a chance to actually get some gold there, and it turned out to be a whole different outcome there, and you were actually on the other end of it, and another end of a team that wasn't actually scheduled to be in the match. And of course, Mr. Dennis G had certainly one up his sleeve, and it's a team that we've seen them in DBW, and as a matter of fact, even seen them in a company that my old friend Jimmy Controversy powering called Pro Wrestling Venom. And Their name would be the Brooklyn Prodigies. And I was wondering, since you were on the other end of the Brooklyn Prodigies taking those Amplified Wrestling Tag Team Championships from Mr. Andrew Lovelace, a man that is certainly no stranger to this platform, how you feeling from that? And anything you want to talk about when it comes to Amplified Wrestling? You there, Chase Wakefield?
Yeah, sure. Let's start from the way beginning. This was Amplified Enterprise. This was my third attempt coming to Amplified. The first two times both got rained out because they were doing outside shows, and I couldn't make a debut. I was originally supposed to face Hanson at one point. I
Maybe
was
you
supposed
should
to,
ask Dan Stofko for advice on how to handle a rain out. He ends the
yeah,
baseball player.
exactly. Yeah, and I was supposed to face someone else, and then at the end of the day, it became this third show, Fight for a Cure, Violent Love versus the Dawn's March.
Yes. Well, we know a
And
lot about that, and
yes, yes. And when I got in the back of the locker room, when I met Andrew Lovelace, he came up to me and said, "I've been watching your stuff for over 7 months now," and I was like, "My stuff, really?" And he's like, "You've been on my list of guys to wrestle for a long, long
Yeah, we
time."
spoke a lot about you, actually. He was on the show, I want to say, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and he's going to be
Yeah,
back
I was watching
in
that,
your chair.
and
Yep.
I was really surprised with some of the kind words he said because with me being critical in my wrestling, I thought I didn't do that great, but whenever he said that was his favorite match that he's done tag team, that really made me very grateful to share the ring with those two, especially with the history of Andrew Lovelace and Edward James, the history that they've had,
Yeah, I
all
mean,
the
it's
people they've
and
faced.
now we see what Mr. Lovelace thinks of Mr. James, and he would certainly like to give him some James uppings here to him.
Yes.
And, I guess, but you're not in the middle of that, though.
Yeah, I don't want any part of that. And now we continue on to the actual match itself and the outcome, where Dennis G came and became Shiesty, and
Some strong words there from you, Shiesty. I haven't heard
he
that
was
one in a while.
he was very Shiesty and trifling, I would say, and he inserted the Brooklyn Prodigies into this match that it was only supposed to be the four of us, and they want to insert these two big Goliath men onto me, out of all people. You would I feel like Dennis G has some type of like grudge against me for some reason. Like you would think
Did you not give him some Bitcoin?
I didn't speak to the man before he even come to the show. I didn't know who Dennis G was until he was out there bringing out the Brooklyn Prodigies.
But you know the Brooklyn Prodigies as well. I mean, you've shared a
Yes,
locker room with them.
the Brooklyn Prodigies, they are two very talented men.
Oh, I'm aware.
And
Mr. Controversy has said a number of things about them when he's been here on the platform. I even had Mr. Raddad talk about them when he was
yes,
here because he knows them as well. I mean, they're kind of like now one of the hot new tag teams around the block.
they are a phenomenal team, and I just hate how the outcome was, and I wish it was on better circumstances rather than what had happened at
So, but
Fight
what's
for
the
a Cure.
future? What's the future then for you? Will we see a fourth attempt in you for Amplified Wrestling? Will we see what will we see from Chase Wakefield? I mean, the
Mm,
Dawn's March. What will we see from those things? I mean, is that fair questions for me to ask, sir?
it's definitely a fair question, but you never, like I said before, you never know what's going to happen. Maybe I will come back to McConnellsburg or wherever else they decide to come back to.
Well,
Um,
I've heard you don't live too far from there, if I'm not mistaken. You're actually one of
yeah,
the guys that doesn't have to travel miles and miles away. Kind of like your best friend had to travel a long way to get to McConnellsburg there, Aaron
yes,
Jones. He
it
traveled a
was,
long way there, and he kind of did that almost like, to quote Mr. Dan Sofsko's sport, he was pinch hitting more or less to kind of
mhm,
come out there and help out there for a cure.
yes, and the the circumstances for Aaron Jones coming up to Amplified were very unfortunate, but
Yes, very, very unfortunate. Yeah.
at the end of the day, Aaron Jones did come in for a good cause, and he did electrify the crowd at Collinsburg.
Oh,
And
listen, there's no question that Aaron Jones in a ring is just, it's all magic. It's literally like, you and Bitcoin,
yes.
your crypto portfolio. But let me get to a couple of comments here before. By the way, merchandise alert. How about this? I told you.
Oh, wow, so you're getting better. Yeah, it's getting better, man.
I told you, and I have more things coming up in the future. Not this show, but definitely probably the next time you come on, you'll see even more improved lighting on Sportswire Radio. But let me say also thank you to ADT for the words when we're on the air, off the air. But also thank you for both. But Mr. Parsley would like to say I love how Sportswire is nothing but real legends and stars. Well, quote unquote, he's really talking about himself because he's really a real one because he's the first real wrestler. And he's also the first real tag team to be in the Hall of Fame now. And he says here basically, boast for life. And want to say hello to Mr. Nicholas Crenton. Nicholas Crenton, one of my favorites, who I just saw here Thursday on the air. And I also want to say hello to another one of my friends, Mr. Craven, not that Craven, the other Craven. He's Chris Craven. He's Coach Chris Craven. He would like to say hello, Tom. And I want to say hello to Coach Craven. And we're going to see Coach Friday on the show because Friday we're going to certainly talk about a lot of things in the world in WWE and elsewhere. And the coach has a lot to say on those things. But I'm going to pull this off the screen here in a second. So Amplified Wrestling, we hope to see more of you then down the road.
For sure.
Okay. Whenever that time may be, we'd like to see more from you then in the future. And will we hopefully see more of you in DBW coming up, right? Before I, kind of what I really wanted to talk about tonight was you had an announcement. You're probably going to say for the end of the show now, but DBW obviously is coming up. We're looking forward to Apocalypse. There's some things in the works here that you'll have to stay tuned for. I can't tip my hand on what it'll be, but I do know you'll see a lot, I'm sure, from a lot of the colleagues of yours here. Maybe we'll talk about Pokemon, card duels in the locker room. Maybe that's what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
But no, I was only kidding. I thought it would be funny, but
that was new. I didn't.
No, actually, we actually brought up. I believe it or not, I think it came up on Big Tex's show. Actually, when Big Tex was here a couple months ago, we actually brought up Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh games. I don't know why.
Oh yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh is a staple with those guys.
Yeah, I could certainly see Mr. Judgment being a Yu-Gi-Oh card, but that used to be his old photo here. But obviously, I'd like to ask you then DBW real quick. I mean, what are you looking for here coming up this season? Anything else?
Well, the only thing I could say is we gotta take things one step at a time, and the current step ahead is DBW Apocalypse. And if you guys seen the poster,
I did.
There's some familiar faces from down south coming up, and maybe Chase Wakefield might have an opportunity at facing some of those southern guys. Who knows?
Well, certainly you must like some Southern barbecue then if you want to face some of those Southern guys.
I'd say so. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Southern barbecue. I'd say
I just had
a lot of Southern food
today. I just had Raising Cane's for the first time. Believe it actually came to Brooklyn, and it was like, wow, there's Raising Cane's here, and I had it.
That's
I have
insane.
to say, I was impressed. I was quite impressed.
You got Raising Cane's before Pennsylvania did. That's crazy.
And where it is in Brooklyn, you would never have guessed in a million years they put a Raising Cane's there. So yeah,
I know. There's a town about an hour away called Mechanicsburg where I live. They just got a Dave's Hot Chicken there, and I've been wanting to
I've
try
seen
that.
Dave's Hot Chicken. Dave's Hot Chicken is in another neighborhood that's in Brooklyn, another one of my old stomping grounds. But couple of things. They're going to stave the DBW talk for a few minutes. But all jokes aside, Chase is a great guy. So maybe you gave him some Bitcoin. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully it went to the right wallet.
That's true, but I have my Litecoins too, which I've actually made money on for the first time in a while, so I can't complain. But I want to say hello to, speaking of Hall of Famers, also Mr. Hillbilly Tilly, our only general manager in the Hall of Fame. Of course, he's the AWL general manager. And spoiler alert, Thursday night next week, we've got ADT on to talk about being the new AWL heavyweight champion. And then right afterwards, the next day, we've got the good guy CJ Black. So you're going to get a little bit of a maybe both sides of the family's coin, maybe you might want to say. You're going to get one family member talk about what they're doing and the other family member talk about what they're doing. Kind of different, though, than Judgment and, let's say, Christian. But, we've obviously been speaking a lot tonight. And obviously, we're getting toward the end of the show. And the reason you're here tonight, as a matter of fact, Chase Wakefield, is that you have a major announcement. Now, it's been an interesting past couple of days in a row. We've seen the eclipse, which nearly blinded me. We obviously had what happened between Cody and The Rock. We even had a few interesting things on Sportswire Radio. Justin Parsley was here. We had a guy with a mask come on. Jackson Law was back. Rob Slater was here. Comments were through the roof. We had like 150 people at one point watching us live, but you apparently have promised a major announcement for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters. So, Chase Wakefield, I'm going to give the floor to you and tell us what your major announcement is.
Man, this has been a very tough announcement, to say the least. It's been something I've been thinking about for a good bit since I would say a couple weeks now. But necessarily, I'm just gonna cut to the chase about it. I'm
Chase.
Cut to the chase. Yeah, I'm officially going to be stepping down from professional wrestling.
Wait.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that again? Because I might need to get my ears checked. You want to repeat that again?
So, I am officially stepping away from professional wrestling. That's why it's been very difficult for me to say a definitive yes and no to a lot of these comments saying about matches and what's the future like, because to be honest, there is no future there for right now.
Oh, wow. You know what? I got to be honest. I've been doing this a long time. I've, seen a lot of things. I speak with a lot of different people, but I don't know if I was necessarily prepared for that. The only other thing that I could say maybe would pale into comparison, I had a guy come on a year ago talk about he thought he might have cancer in the UK, but this wound up, I think, is totally off the wall. And
yes,
you are stepping away from professional wrestling. Wow, you know what? You definitely did have a pipe bomb. I tell you what, Chase Wakefield, you had a pipe bomb, and people are going out there saying, wait a minute, what did he just say? And I'm still kind of speechless.
So I'm not saying as retirement or quitting, because retirement requires you to be physically unable to do it, and quitting is you're quitting.
Do you feel okay? Are you doing well health-wise?
Yes. Well, there is like a few things like health-wise. For me, I have very bad sciatica. So like professional wrestling doesn't really help that cause in a sense.
Sure.
I have it in both legs where it's like it's very difficult for me to walk sometimes. So
I'm sorry.
There's stuff like that. And it's more or less the mental as well. As of late, I realized I've always said I would step away from professional wrestling when I don't think it's fun. And in one of the locker rooms that I was in recently, I came to the realization that I'm not having fun with it anymore. So I'm stepping away, and it's not necessarily a bad thing or a negative to anyone that may or may have known.
Okay, because I was like, Chase, if I said something on Sportswire, which I know I've said a lot of things over the past year, and I'm sure Omen and Nicholas Cranston and Coach Kraber could say, Tom, you did say something to maybe ADT and maybe other people that are in here. I was like, if I said something, I'll apologize. Whatever you want. You want some of my money, I'll give it to you. I'm sorry. I mean, I want to make sure.
No, it is not towards anyone, or no one hasn't feel this decision. It's more or less a decision on my own. But nevertheless, I've even gone to the lengths of putting away my gear for good as over the past couple of days. I know I might have like a pair of tights somewhere, so if I ever do have that itch,
yeah, I did not even. I got to be honest. I didn't even have any inclinations of this. I mean, nobody. You know what? There are people. Yeah, I'll be straight up. There are people that will tell me things, but this was like.
It's definitely a pipe bomb. It's definitely a pipe bomb.
This is really a pipe bomb, because this is like I couldn't have told you that I saw this one coming.
There was some hints that if some eagle-eyed people would notice, like I like clearly blacked out my Instagram. I have nothing
Yeah,
on
but other
Instagram anymore.
wrestlers have done that. I don't know if it's mental health reasons. A lot of guys in the
Yeah,
UK have done that, so I can't say that that's
it's
really what it tipped my hand off. You know?
and then I completely changed my X. It's completely different now. Facebook, I don't really use Facebook that much, so I don't really like look into it. But at the end of the day, after doing this for 8 years, almost 10 years, I would say, from trampoline wrestling to
Yeah, I
broken
think I said
trampoline
8 years.
wrestling.
I think during a little while
Yeah,
ago, right? Say 8 years, probably.
yeah, from trampoline wrestling to broken trampoline wrestling to handmade wrestling ring, to now doing independent and some underground. I definitely don't have any regrets when it comes to where I've been. I've been on the Hall of Fame. I've been in the Sportswire Hall of Fame, and
I don't see why we would not want to bring you on the platform. And
yeah,
I think that your career, spoke a lot of volumes. I'm definitely look. I'll be straight up. I support whatever you want to do. I mean,
mhm,
I would support anybody's decision, long as you're happy. Mental health is a big issue. A lot of the guys in the UK have been talking about. We have the Tribal Cheese coming on Friday, and he basically announced after his match that he's stepping away from wrestling for a while. I mean, there's a lot of guys. James Barris just came out today and said that he needs help, and there's guys that have said here, this, and that. So I mean. If
wrestling
there's
is one
something you
of
need help with, I'm
wrestling is one of the
supporting it.
most demanding sports, not only physically but mentally, because all those hits to the head, all the things they've done to your body, it really catches up to you, especially if you're like for me, for example, if you're known back then for doing a lot of crazy stuff, uh, it really caught up to me, and I'm really feeling it now, and I really took it for granted, and I think now is going to be a good time to move on and enter a new chapter. And I will say, I have two more shows left, coming with YouTube, whether it's DBW, BTW, or anywhere else that I'm actually on. That's recent. But after that, that'll be it.
Let me ask you a question. I want to say hello to Mr. Andrew Lovelace, of course, the
Yes.
be all, not the end all, because we're going to have him back on in a couple of weeks, so we can't end and call him the end all. But let me ask you this question. I know this is kind of like a weird part of the show, and I'll do the best I can to put it in a positive direction. But
hmm
I mean, will you still watch wrestling?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I watched Mania over the weekend. I've watched Stand and Deliver.
Well,
I've
you
even
we
watched
messaged on Facebook. You talked about watching Mania, so I mean, obviously,
Yeah,
you watched Mania.
I've even watched Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. Like
Okay.
I'll always be a fan of wrestling. It's just the competing aspect is something
Well,
I'm
let me
more or
ask you.
less.
Let me ask you this question: Would you go into? Would you want to do things in wrestling? Or you just like? Would you want to be a commentator? Would you want to be? Or you? This is it. This is like
I
for now.
think for one, there's one more thing I would want to do to be completely satisfied uh with what I've done in pro wrestling, and that's running a show, doing the backyard barbecue. That's something I've been in the
Well,
midst of talking
Wade
about.
Kruger from the Stepdads actually ran a show before COVID. I mean, that's Rad
Yeah.
Dad was talking about that. It was like really successful. I mean, if you ask Rad Dad, he probably,
Yeah,
you
I've
know,
talked about that actually before about having seen if you'd be willing to come and do your. This was before you went to GTS. If he was willing to do a yard show or a backyard wrestling show, and he was all for it, and it was just scheduling conflicts at the time and COVID.
yeah, it's COVID was, and I think it's when Wade booked the show. I want to say about 8 months before COVID. But
Yeah.
I mean, what would you miss about wrestling if you don't come back? What will you miss?
Um, Definitely the feeling of being in the ring in front of a crowd. I think that is something that is very surreal. It's a feeling a lot of people will never get, and it's a feeling you can't describe, but it's probably one of the best feelings you could ever experience when it comes to anything in sports, I would say.
I agree with you on that. Do you have any regrets?
Um, I would say there's always one spot in my wrestling career that always gave me PTSD whenever someone brings it up,
Oh God.
and it was I forget what year it was, but it was at DBW when we were in our garage in a town called Shippensburg.
Oh yes, I
I,
remember watching some of those matches
yes,
earlier. Sure. Yep.
I was in a match with a guy named JJ Genovese,
Okay.
and it was a match stipulation called Shoots and Ladders, and it was
It's
my
so funny. I'm
idea.
thinking of the corn song, and as a kid, there used to be when I was a kid, there used to be a pharmacy called Genovese. It was Genovese. It was
Oh my god,
Genovese Pharmacy, and I remember my mother going in there with me to buy my school supplies as a kid because where I grew up was like everybody was named Genovese, and
yeah.
and that was what a small world there.
And it was my idea to come up with this match, and the concept of it was like a tables match, but for a ladder. So you gotta set up a ladder like a table,
Yep.
and you have to put your opponent through it. And the spot that we had this huge like 15-foot ladder, wooden ladder, and we were doing a sunset flip power bomb from the top of the wood ladder onto a bridged metal ladder that breaks very easily. And it was hot, it was humid. So whenever I went to go for the sunset flip, I stuck onto him and he didn't realize and he fell back.
Oh
So
my God!
I was holding on to him. He fell and he landed right on me while I was landing straight on the ladder. And
Wow.
it was a very, very, it could have been life ending, honestly. That
Well,
was pure
yeah,
ending.
that's you know what? There's a lot of things that go on, and that's why they do say, kids, don't try this at home.
Yeah,
Honest-
I was very stupid that at that time, and I was kind of like how Darby Allin is currently. I've always wanted to one
well,
up one up something crazy that I've done,
well,
and
every generation has it. Everybody,
yeah,
there was Mick Foley, there was certainly Jeff Hardy, there was Darby Allin. Here in the underground, we have Mikey Anarchy and Hardcore. They
yep,
seem to be the guys that are kind of taking the mantle from Madman Pondo. And
hmm,
Rad Dad did talk about his feelings on that on the air last week, and he talked about what he tries to bring to younger wrestlers and experience on that. So I'm glad that we do say kids don't try this at home on Sportswire. But
yes,
before I get to Mr. Delta, Skulls would like to say good evening, gentlemen. I'm getting back home from talking to SoCal Crazy, who's going through chemo once again. Obviously, thoughts and prayers to anybody going through chemo. We definitely don't wish that on anybody. And Mr. Delta would like to say, I'll be honest, I'm always tired of wrestling. The traveling, never truly feeling appreciated. Hopefully, you would hope on Sportswire, we appreciate you, and hopefully you'll want to come back to Sportswire so we can honor you and put you in the Hall of Fame. But we understand the point, though. Feeling like a body on a roster. But I
hmm,
care about Chase and will always be a message away. And that's, I think, the message I think tonight I would say is that, you know, whatever you decide to do, I'll support your decision because, first of all, you're a human being, right? You're an individual. And, we all love this sport of wrestling. We all talk all wrestling matters. But the facts are is that you have to do what's best for you. You've obviously, have a lot ahead of you. You have the rest of your life. Maybe you want to, certainly do different things. Maybe you want to, try something while you have a chance to. You only get to live once in life. You only get to be young once in life. And, you're young enough that, maybe you want to try different things and maybe this is the right time. And I'm always a believer and you should go out on top. You should go out kind of when this is your peak. And I think this is your peak right now. VTW is, through the roof. VTW to me is right up there with TBW and IMF and ESW, and DBW's gained so much in traction the last couple of years. I mean, DBW's in the same category as those companies. And, you've obviously traveled a little bit. And I think that it's good to go out on top because, when we think about it in sports, right, before we move on to say a few things, how many people can say they go out on top? Ric Flair, I mean, wants to be dead when he goes out there in a ring. He still wants to wrestle. I
hmm,
mean, Shawn Michaels, I think, had the perfect retirement, but had that one match in Saudi. The
yep,
Undertaker seems to be kind of, if you're following things, maybe thinking about it.
yep,
But, a lot of people don't get the perfect send-off. Sting has gotten it. We think Sting has gotten
yep,
it. But, you look in sports in history, Michael Jordan had it. He came back. Tom Brady could have had it. He played well. Wouldn't know if that was the right send-off. I mean, John Elway had it in football. But, the point is in sports and maybe in wrestling, we struggle with this. So if for you as a young man, maybe this is the moment for you to say, you know what? I've done it all. I can't do much more. I'm going to have my body intact. I'm going to have the rest of my life ahead of me. And maybe that's the best decision for me. And you know what? You know that decision better than anybody else. And who am I to say you shouldn't do it? I think you should absolutely do what's best for you. I mean, listen, I go on the air every day, right? I talk to people from all over the world. I do different things and I juggle it, and I often wonder, how many more sports wires am I going to do 2 times a day? Where we got shows
Mhm.
coming up 3 times in a day. I mean,
Oh yeah.
you know, but I believe in it and I believe in giving people the platform, and I will do it till either I can physically not do it, which will hopefully be 50 years from now, or other things come up. But I've been lucky. I've had 5 years, 5+ years, and the brand is growing and the demand is up. But I think in your case is different than mine because you know what's best for you. And this is the best decision. And I think that the best we can do is support you and offer, if you want to come on anytime to Sportswire, you're welcome to. And, if you want to talk about whatever is on your mind, you're always welcome to here. You're a Hall of Famer. And, I think it's the best decision for you. So I'm going to say I support it.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much. Who knows? There might be one more time that Chase Wakefield could go in the ring. Like I said before, I might have an old pair of tights somewhere. If I ever felt that itch again, I will definitely. My goal is to at least try to fight the urges, because as soon as I get back into it, I'll just restart the cycle again, and that's not what I want to do.
No,
And
I think you should honestly listen. I'll be straight up, and I want to get to Andrew Lovelace in a minute. You're not making millions of dollars doing this. I mean, I
mhm,
hate to disappoint people who watch Sports Wire shows. We love our wrestlers here, but Hillbilly Tilly always says it. True wrestlers at this level do it for the love of wrestling. I don't do this to make money. I do this because I love it. I believe in it. If it happens, great. But I don't know. I don't know what the future means. But the truth is, at the end of the day, we're not going to be rich off this. And if you have the ability to get out on top and to get out while you have your body intact, your mind mentally there, and that's the best decision for you. I just think that, there's really no other way to say other than, thank you for what you've done for this sport. Thank you for what you've put your body through. And thank you for being a part of All Wrestling Matters. And thank you for continuing to come on this platform. And to sum it up, I'll say thank you. That's the way I look at it.
that's all I could really say too. Is thank you for everyone who actually has watched me perform and has said some kind words to me, and even to the ones who have given me criticism in the past
Well, anybody
for.
who's giving you criticism about this decision, they need to get their
No,
head.
no, I'm not saying the
Oh,
decision. I'm
oh,
saying just overall in general, like
oh,
as a
wow.
wrestling standpoint.
Well, there's
Like
people, not everybody likes everybody. Trust me.
I've especially when it comes to doing independent wrestling, I've met a lot of old school wrestlers that don't really see what I see, and they give me that criticism, and I usually take it and I improve off it, and all I have to say is thanks, because they make me better overall, and I always see it as everyone has a specific perspective, and if I'm not seeing through that perspective, then I can't learn and I can't improve from it.
All right. Well, I want to get to Mr. Lovelace. Respect to Chase. You're a workhorse, sir, and I regret us not getting to do the singles thing.
Yeah, uh, definitely was a. I would say I've had a bucket list of dream matches. Um, those being as of late Jack Delta, which I just crossed off, and guys like CJ Black was another guy that I've always wanted to wrestle, and Andrew Lovelace is one guy as well that I've always wanted to step in the ring one on one with, and it's a shame that it won't happen, but who knows? It could happen. Like I've said a few times on the show, never say never in wrestling. Anything can happen.
Well, let me ask you this because I don't want to make this the final goodbye because I feel it's too soon. So let me ask you this: you have a couple of more shows. We said 2 or 3 more shows that are going to air on
Yes.
YouTube. So,
So I have Apocalypse and I have Locked Up. Those are the two.
I'll tell you this much here. It's up to you. You can do whatever you want. Would you like to come back? Could be the next few weeks, could be next month, to kind of talk about those final matches as kind of the final goodbye. Because I would hate this to be goodbye now.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So would you like to kind of come back and talk about those two matches or whatever it comes out to be, and you can then maybe have the final, if you want to have a final goodbye. But as far as I'm concerned, there's no goodbye on Sportswire, because you're welcome anytime to talk wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
You want to put it out there, but if you want to put a bow on your wrestling career, you're welcome to do that after the show's air if you'd like to.
I definitely would be interested to go one last time, one more time, and really talk about the last two matches, especially like VTW and DBW,
Absolutely.
and talk about anything else. Really.
I also want to put it out there like this. I don't want you to say goodbye to Sportswire after this. I mean, you're always welcome. You would say, Tom, I want to talk about WWE. I want to talk about something.
I could even show up to those Raw recaps or the recaps.
I was going to say, well, you're always welcome for that. I mean, those are, we had Anthony Steele do a couple of them. So, I mean, at this point, everybody seems to do them at this point. So, I mean, yeah. So, I would say, so this is what I want to say, because I want to bring you back. So, obviously, I'm going to watch Apocalypse. I can't tip my hand too much on what I know about Apocalypse, but I will say, let's obviously watch the match. Let's have you come on. Maybe I'll even do commentary on it, depending. If I would say, let's say maybe I'll do that. Let's also say VTW. We're gonna watch. We're gonna watch that. We're gonna talk about that, and whatever else you want to put on a bow in your active in-ring career, you could do that then. And I think that sounds like a deal.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think what we could do is like kind of a recap of like everything. I can get some videos together. And we could go from like the start of like whenever I was doing trampoline wrestling.
We can play it on the show. I have to share. I've got to share my screen, so we can definitely do that. So whatever you want to do, we'll have that. We'll make that a special day for you.
Oh yeah, I'm all for it. We could definitely talk about dates.
I'm looking for definitely. I want to say tentatively maybe like the first week in May.
Okay.
First week in May. Today's the 9th. I tell you right now, probably that would be good for me.
Okay, that works perfect for me too.
Perfect. So let's do that. Let's hold off on the final goodbyes, because we got to still watch matches from you, and I want to obviously give you the proper respect. And I might even want to call, especially the DBW stuff, because the DBW stuff we kind of get commentary, but not really commentary. So I want to work on my chops with that. We want to play some videos, and Andrew, who's going to be in your chair 2 weeks from now, says, like a highlight reel. Yes, absolutely. Like a highlight reel. Yep, absolutely. Yes. You just hit the nail on that. That's why Andrew's, by the way, an awesome DJ, by the way. So if you need a DJ, make sure you check out Andrew Loveless, because he'll certainly give you, I'm sure, not loveless like DJ spins, but he'll give you more loving DJ spins. I couldn't think of the right words there, but we tried. But I want to then give you the floor for now. Obviously, we're going to have you come on and recap for now, last stuff in the ring. You definitely caught a lot of people surprised. And again, the announcement is, for now, Chase Wakefield is saying exit stage left as an active in-ring competitor. And, obviously, again, it's his best decision. We support it here on this platform. And, we'll talk about his final in-ring stuff you're going to see on YouTube coming up. And please support VTW. Please support DBW on YouTube. Dominant Breakout Wrestling also versus the World Wrestling. VTW Wrestling on YouTube. Please support those companies. I cannot stress enough to support them. And also with the fact that Chase Wakefield is going to be wrestling on those shows. And there's a good possibility you may not see him again or for a really long time in a ring. So go out there and support those companies. We're going to obviously play those matches here live. I'll stream it. I'll do some commentary. We'll make it a special day for you. You deserve that. You're one of my favorites on the platform that have come on over the past year. And, I definitely, want to, celebrate you the right way. So that's why I want to save some of that for a couple of weeks now. So let's give you the floor. Anything else you want to add, share, or say? And that's kind of where we're at.
I'd say the final thoughts, especially since it's not going to be the final goodbye, of course. I'm always going to support Sportswire Radio, the #1 global radio station out there.
Although I have one reel on TikTok with 30,000 views, by the way, which wow.
I
have one on TikTok.
One of my working out.
Alan Michaels, who was with TBW, has a TikTok page, and we have a clip with 30,000 views, and I have one with two soccer players, kind of like Andrew Lovelace, who are going into they're like Spanish rappers, and I have a clip on Instagram with about 3,000 views, and they're coming back into the show. So I actually do have a couple of hits, by the way. So they can't call me like a one-hit wonder, because originally, like, everybody would say, well, Luke Leyland's my only hit because I have 1,300 views with him on YouTube. But now I have a couple of more hits. So now I'm not a one-hit wonder. I'm not a two-hit wonder. I'm like a three-hit wonder, which doesn't make me a three-hit wonder. So now I'm like, I kind of made it a little bit. So there you go.
At the end of the day, I'm just very thankful to have found a platform like Sportswire Radio.
Appreciate that.
Definitely changed the scene of at least the community I was in.
I appreciate that.
The amount of people who usually don't get this opportunity to be on an interview style podcast and to be interviewed by someone who genuinely cares about all wrestling is something special, because we've had people who have done something similar, but it's nowhere near the quality that.
Yeah, I heard that a lot in the British scene. In the British scene, I obviously know a lot of the British guys, and there was a couple of guys that were doing it for a while, and one of the guys was actually pretty good. He wound up doing some commentary. Another guy really wasn't any good.
I think I know one of the guys. It'll be a cool little story. His name is Edward Fowler.
Yeah, that's one of the guys. Yeah.
Fun fact.
You really do know everybody, by the way. You really do.
Fun fact: Edward Fowler interviewed Mr. Judgment.
I'm aware of that. I heard it. I heard the interview, and I was like, I know that. It was funny. I don't want to say who I said to him. Like, I know that guy. You went on. I was like, you went on his show, and it was like, it was what it was.
That's all we had at the time was guys like Edward Fowler, and now that we have someone that is as professional and as great as you've been, Tom, it's really a breath of fresh air, and
that means a lot to me. That really does. That's why I really believe in the platform, and I believe in all the people that come on here, and that's why I try to really, I do try to. I'm unfortunate I can do it, but I really do try to sacrifice a lot of things to keep people alive, to have a platform. I really do believe in it, and I get a lot of messages from that, so I will continue to do that, and I don't see any reason why I won't. And I'm so happy that you are here, and I'm so happy that we're going to bring you back on in a couple of weeks to kind of recap for now a goodbye in-ring competition. And if you obviously want to follow Chase Wakefield, you can. I mean, he's obviously pretty much told you there really isn't much to follow. But if you want to buy a merchandise shirt, there is still Pro Wrestling Tees. So if you want to support him, you can do that. And obviously support him in VTW and DBW especially. I definitely don't think I was prepared for this tonight. I honestly, my first thought was, I thought the pipe bomb was going to be, I heard you say something about somebody, and I'm going to say right now, like, F you or something. No, seriously, that's what I really thought. I thought it was like, okay, who did I speak about now that you were upset about? I'm like, okay.
There's a lot of things that I wanted to approach on how I was going to say it, but I think the best way of doing it was just cutting it straight to what it was.
I think we did this way. You know what? And I'm glad that I didn't open the show up with it, because it would have been like really weird, because I had no idea. Originally, I told everybody we're going to have it right at the beginning, but it was good we didn't do it that way, because we got a chance to talk about the Delta match. We got a chance to talk about VTW, talk about some current events, which is, I'm always a believer in that. A lot of the contemporaries love to talk about your career in retrospective, and I'm a believer in current events because I love to stay relevant, and I think that's why I've survived as long as I have. But I'm glad we did it this way, and that we'll have another one to kind of really have the send off. So that's great. And I think that we'll say to be continued. And I'm going to really watch you extra hard coming up here in VTW and DBW, like I was already. But my friend, definitely saying thank you for all that you do. We're going to definitely look forward to saying the goodbye in a few weeks, and I can't wait to do that. And congratulations and thank you for all you do, and thank you really for just being who you are, and staying true to what you believe in.
Thank you so much for having me. as I say, we're gonna save a lot of it for the final show. I don't really have anything else to talk
There's
about.
nothing to say. No,
Yep.
there's nothing to say. That's going to be saved for in a few weeks from now. So
Yep.
we're going to save it for then. But my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters here. And we are certainly trying to recover from the news that Chase Wakefield, the Bitcoin billionaire, is saying sayonara to active in-ring competition. And we will have a few more things to cover in the end of his career for now. That'll be done here, figure the first week of May, maybe even be around this time on a Tuesday. That would be Tuesday, I think, May the 2nd or 1st. But we'll talk about that in a few as we get closer. But if you're on sportswireradio.org, you're going back to your regularly scheduled programming. If you're on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, I will be back tomorrow with NEW New Underground Wrestling coverage. D Savage, Jake Matthews, be there or be square. And until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters. By the way, before we go, want to say hello to my buddies in Legendary Backyard Wrestling, because the guys are going to be here Monday night with Psychotic Freak. And to recap for Mr. Junt, Chase Wakefield is saying sayonara for now to active in-ring competition. He's got a couple of more matches that we're going to talk about in VTW and DBW. And I say hello to you, Mr. Junt, and Mr. Ragnarok, and the rest of the guys in LBYW. And I can't wait to have you guys back on here Monday. But that's the news for now. And thank you. Please follow Legendary Backyard Wrestling. Also, by the way, news for you, Mr. Junt. I'm actually portion I own of the Pride Wrestling Federation. So I actually now am a fellow owner of yours. I guess maybe I'm now. Do I get to be like the backyard wrestling business meetings now? That might be a funny joke. Do I actually get to, like, when we have like the big business meetings? Do we have like conferences like in sports where they have like these winter meetings? Or like, do like as backyard wrestling companies, do we have like winter meetings? Do we have like conference calls? Maybe I technically would be a member of it, but different conversation for a different time. I'll see everybody tomorrow. And